The Cosmic Briefing, hosted by award-winning author Dr. Alison Brown, opens the door to disclosure, consciousness, galactic history, and humanity's awakening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Briefing. I'm glad you're here. And today I want to talk about a specific UFO incident, and that was the one that happened in 1996 in Varginha, Brazil. And I'm not sure why all of a sudden on social media, at least on the X platform, there's a lot of discussion in the past few months about this specific instance of contact. And there have been a lot of government officials who are talking about releasing documents, and there are some Brazilian officials saying the same thing. And so perhaps it's because that was 30 years ago as of 2026. And so maybe that's why there's renewed interest in this particular experience. And so I want to talk to you about what our guides said happened. We channeled on this quite a number of years ago when it first came into my awareness as we were doing research about a whole bunch of different topics, many of which were UFO related. And so our guides explained, and when I say guides, we have a lot of different guides. These are our galactic guides who have an understanding of what's happening in this arena. There was a downed aircraft in that city, Varginha. I hope I'm saying it right. And there was a being that was supposedly captured. And subsequently, at least one person, one human who had come in contact with that being died relatively soon after this happened. And so we wanted an explanation of what was going on. Okay, so first of all, they said, these are highly intelligent beings and craft. They're not going to just accidentally have a malfunction in their craft that causes them to crash onto Earth's surface. However, they are operating their craft around the Earth's atmosphere, and there are what they call Earth plane technologies that are aimed at them that can interfere with their navigational system once they're in our plane. I guess they operate a little bit differently when they're in our plane versus when they're going interdimensionally. And so when they're in our plane, some of the technologies that we have will interfere with their navigational equipment, and then the craft are brought down. And these beings were apparently captured. And so what they wanted us to understand is, again, these are intelligent beings. These beings can take a body and then disappear out of a body. So they don't have to be captured. They could just disappear, right? And so they explained to us that there is this agreement. And this is interesting because Diana Pasulka, in a recent interview, I don't recall who she was being interviewed by, but she mentioned these agreements in these types of cases for beings to come to Earth like this. And I think it was in regards to us supposedly capturing or holding hostage some of these beings, the physical bodies. And so this was interesting because it resonated and aligned with what she had said, that there's an agreement that they will come for whatever it is, I guess, that humans need to understand, or whatever their point of awareness is at that moment, for whatever the outcome. And what they said was that, again, these beings, when they're operating out in, outside of our atmosphere and interdimensionally, they're in an energetic form. But when they come into physicality, when they come into our awareness and into our atmosphere and onto our planet, they have a layer of protection. This particular being was a Zeta hybrid. And it had a layer of protection. A membrane is what they called it. And the membrane was essentially radioactive. That's what this being needed to protect its body. And humans are not used to, being in proximity to that type of radiation. And so that's what happened to the human that got too close for too long and was affected, unfortunately, by that radioactive membrane. And, this is interesting also because Chris Bledsoe, if you've read his book, UFO of God, he gets into how his first encounters with the beings, I think, brought on some illness. Not only did it not cure some of the immune disorders I think that he had was it Crohn's or something? I'm not 100% sure. Please forgive me. But he had some sort of disorder, and not only did it not help heal it, but I think it made it worse, if I'm recalling his story correctly. Eventually, though, maybe 10 years later, it was healed. And of course, these beings can heal us, heal our bodies when we come into energetic connection with them. But at any rate, they also can, I guess, obviously affect our bodies in a negative way when we interact with them if we're not prepared, again, for their layer of protection, right? And so that's what happened in this particular case. And so the reason that I wanted to come on and talk about this today is because it's important to understand the Varginha incident and to understand that what they said precipitated that incident was in 1996, there was a great deal of energy that humanity was emitting in terms of curiosity, questioning, I guess asking the bigger questions. And that energy emanates out into the universe. Every thought, every spoken word is an energetic projection, and it goes somewhere out into the ether, and it never disappears. It never goes away. And so it resonates out into the universe, and the universe responds. The universe hears this, and many galactic beings heard our call. And this doesn't even have to be a conscious call. It can be subconscious longing, something that we're just thinking about. We don't have to ask verbally, but there were enough people on the planet who were doing that this energy emanated out and was responded to. And so Varginha was not the only instance that occurred in 1996. There were several others. And I think the people on X have been talking about those as well and what was happening around that time frame. And what's interesting is it relates to what's happening right now in 2026. When I asked about the crop circles, if you've not been following the crop circle phenomenon, there have been, particularly over this summer, many instances and experiences of crop circles almost daily. There's a couple of places in the UK where these are appearing, and in one of those locations, it's almost every single day over weeks. And so I asked about that in a channeling as well, and was told that, again, whether subconscious or consciously expressed, humanity's, our unified field is calling out again to the universe with questions, and it makes sense because there's a lot of information about disclosure coming out right now from a variety of different people and sources and mainstream all over the place. And so it's causing a lot of humans to start to contemplate these topics and to think about it and ask the big questions. And so as they do that, it is amplifying the unified field and resonating out into the universe. And it's being responded to. And because of that amplification of our consciousness, we were told the crop circles are appearing, and they're appearing for everyone. Whoever is drawn to view them is receiving information and downloads and an unlocking of information and of their own galactic connections and their mission and their role on councils and things like that. It's unlocking for them. You don't have to be present physically, but you can view them. You can view the crop circles. But they said that's why it's happening now and that's why it was happening back then. And so it was interesting to make this connection. And I don't know that the people on social media are making that specific connection, but to see this correlation between what was happening in 1996 and what's happening now in 2026 and where we are headed. And if you haven't seen that video about where we're headed for the rest of the summer and on into the fall, I highly suggest that you look that one up. It's short, and it'll explain what to expect. So, this is an interesting topic. It's an exciting time to be alive. I'm so grateful that you're here with me on this journey together so we can explore and provide support and comfort to one another as we navigate what's ahead. It's a beautiful thing. Just remember to stay out of fear and in your heart space and tuning in to your divine wisdom inside. And until next time.